Hello and welcome to NDTV 24/7. I'm Priyanshi Sharma and our focus is on the Prime Minister's visit to the United States. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Washington, D.C. as a part of his 4-day U.S. state visit. The Prime Minister has several important events lined up in Washington. On Thursday, he will attend a dinner hosted by the U.S. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden. That will be followed by a bilateral meeting. After that, he will address a joint sitting of the U.S. Congress, and he will be the first Indian leader to address the US Congress twice. My colleague Maha Siddiqui is joining us for more on this, and she's joining us from the United States, tracking the Prime Minister's visit. And Maha, those important events lined up for the Prime Minister, what are the issues that could come up, and how are the next 2 days important for both India and the United States?
Well, the next 2 days are certainly going to be very important because this is going to be Prime Minister Modi's first state visit to the U.S., even though he's come several times since he became the Prime Minister. But those were not state visits. They were working visits or just bilateral meetings between the two sides. This is an official state visit where he will be afforded a guard of honor, where there's a state dinner that will also take place on the 22nd evening, which will be hosted by the White House in their lawns. President Biden and the White House have invited about 250 other guests for that dinner as well. But all eyes are keenly trained on the takeaways because that really will be important, and that will also give us a sense of what the focus of the two countries really is, even though we understand that currently the common threat of China is what is driving the two sides to forge closer ties. But both sides insist that the relationship stands on its own merit as well. So we will have to see the takeaways, whether the takeaways really speak for what the two sides have been saying. In the defense sector, clearly, if you take a look on one count, if there is the joint production of GE engines and HAL, which will ultimately use them for its latest version of the LCA, light combat aircraft, then that will be a very important move ahead in favor of India, considering that India has been seeking technology transfer because it wants to be self-dependent, self-reliant, and not continue to be one of the largest importers of defense equipment, considering that for the longest ever time, India has been hugely dependent on Russia for its defense equipment imports. Even though now India has increased its basket, getting more from France, Israel, as well as America. However, the stress is on Atmanirbharta, and therefore it is important that then technology transfer is also made available to India. However, that is an aspect where America hasn't really been forthcoming. So if there is a decision on that, Priyanshi, that is going to be one of the biggest takeaways from this entire visit.
Absolutely, Maha. We'll of course wait and watch what happens in that crucial visit. Thanks very much for joining us. And before going to Washington, the Prime Minister led the International Yoga Day celebrations at the UN headquarters in New York. And it was a special celebration as the yoga program at the United Nations created the Guinness World Record for people from the most number of nationalities performing yoga together. People from 135 nationalities participated at this yoga event, breaking the earlier record of 114 nationalities. Listen in to what the Prime Minister said at this event.
Yoga is free from copyright, free from patents, and free from royalty payments. Yoga is adaptable to your age, gender, and fitness level. Yoga is unifying. It is for everyone, for all ethnicities, for all faiths, and for all cultures. Yoga is a way of life, a holistic approach to health and well-being, a way to mindfulness in thoughts and action.
Now, who was the yoga instructor who led this record-breaking event? It was famous ballerina turned yoga professional Annalise Richmond who led the celebrations alongside Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the UN lawns. She teaches yoga at 100 universities and she led the yoga session with a group of 6 American children. Take a look.
Very warm welcome to our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji.
Famous ballerina turned yoga professional Annalise Richmond leading the Yoga Day celebrations at the UN lawns alongside PM Modi. She leads the yoga session with a group of 6 American children between the ages of 8 and 12 years. Richmond was contacted by the Indian representatives at the UN through her local teacher in NYC to participate in the yoga event with Prime Minister Modi. Richmond's first exposure to yoga was when she was 18. But she believed that it was only about stretching. 5 years later, when she met a Bengaluru-based art of living teacher in New York, she began to believe in the practice. This greatly helped her heal from the injuries she sustained in her profession. She says that certain breathwork and meditation practices eased her anxiety while navigating a high-pressure career. She learned yoga at the Art of Living campus in Bengaluru that she visited in 2006.
You know, India holds a really dear place in my heart because I did all of my yoga, pranayama, and meditation training in India through India with Gurudev, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, and the Art of Living. I did it 23 years ago.
Richmond now teaches yoga in over 100 universities across the US, including Harvard and Columbia.
A great honor for me to be leading yoga, pranayama, meditation for PM Modi, who has helped spread this knowledge around the world.
Bureau Report, NDTV.
An unfortunate news now coming in from Manipur. A blast has injured 3 people in the northeastern state that has been witnessing ethnic violence for close to 2 months now. Police sources say that a bomb that was planted in an SUV in the Bishnupur district blasted and injured 3 people. They add that currently it's suspected to be an IED or an improvised explosive device. And as the situation is not getting normal despite the Home Minister's visit to the state 3 weeks ago, the Union Home Minister Amit Shah has called for an all-party meeting on the 24th of June in New Delhi to discuss the situation in Manipur. My colleague Ratnadeep Chaudhary is joining us for more details on this. And Ratnadeep, tell us about this blast that has injured at least 3 people and also this all-party meeting that was a demand of the opposition.
That's right. In fact, this blast took place this evening at Kokta, which is on the border of the Bishnupur and the Churachandpur district. Remember, the Bishnupur is a district in the hill, in the valley area of the state, and Churachandpur is in the hill. And this area, Kokta and Kangwai, have been witnessing, violence flare-ups ever since the violence started. In fact, last week also they were firing in this area, and now what we're picking up from police sources is that an SUV vehicle, Mahindra Scorpio vehicle, which was parked near a culvert there, it suddenly blew off. Now, police suspect it to be a powerful IED blast, and 3 bystanders have received serious injuries. They've been shifted to Imphal, in fact, and therefore, now massive security cover has been put in the area. The police is trying to investigate what really happened. But this is definitely something which will be a reason of concern for the state government and centre. And now Union Home Minister has called for that key meeting on June 24, where he's meeting all the parties. Remember, the opposition parties had been calling for an all-party meeting on the Manipur issue. And this comes at a time when, at least in the last 2 days, the number of incidents had come down. However, there were incidents of firing, which was reported from these border areas between the valley and the hill region. And in fact, the internet ban in Manipur has been extended also to June 25. In fact, today the schools were supposed to be reopened. That has also been deferred to July 1st. So therefore, now this incident is definitely a reason of concern for centre and state.
Right, Ratnadeep, thanks very much for joining us with those details. Let's now focus on the onion crisis for the farmers in Maharashtra. After investing thousands in their crop, the farmers are receiving only 2.5 rupees per kilo in the markets for their onions. Despite assurances from the government, they say that nothing has changed on the ground. What's the reason for this? Traders say that farmers in several states are growing onions and not just in Maharashtra. So the demand for onion grown in Maharashtra is falling. Here's our ground report.
Sahib Pawar from Ahmednagar district of Maharashtra grew onions on his 3-acre land at the cost of 40,000 rupees per acre. But with the market price now at 2.5 rupees a kilo, he will barely make 15,000 rupees for an acre of crop. Naturally, he's upset.
प्याज करने में ये शासन ने जो अनुदान भी नहीं दिया और ये 3 एकड़ में 75,000 इसका तोटा हो गया.
Onion farmers are bearing the brunt of a bumper crop leading to a glut. Traders say not just Maharashtra, farmers of other states are also growing onions, due to which demand from Maharashtra and other states has come down.
5 महिने झालं आमचा कांदा अक्षरशः काडी मोलितो शासन आमच्याकडे लक्ष देत नाही.
महाराष्ट्र में जितना उत्पन्न इसके पहले होता था उसके ज़्यादा भी उत्पन्न अभी कर्नाटक, तमिलनाडु, केरल उधर स्थानिक हो रहा है. इसके लिए इधर से कांदा खरीद करके खरीदार जो भेजते थे वो कम हो गया. बोले इसकी वजह से उसके जो रेट जो कम आ रहे प्याज के.
In March this year, farmers marched 110 kilometers from Nashik to Mumbai, demanding the right price for their produce as well as help to tackle the impact of low price of onions. The government assured farmers that they will be helped in an attempt to convince them to end their protest.
सरकार इंटरवेन करेंगी और किसानों को राहत देगी, इस प्रकार का लिखित स्वरूप में आश्वासन दिया था. लेकिन आज जब किसान बहुत संकट में है, 2 रुपए प्रति किलो की दर से अपनी प्याज बेचने के लिए मजबूर है, सरकार कुछ नहीं कर रही.
Farmers' leaders are upset with the government as there has been no change in the condition of the farmers, despite promises. While the government promises relief to the farmers, the question is, when will the promise of financial assistance from the government come through? With Sagar Dusal in Ahmednagar and Sohit Mishra in Mumbai, Sneha Koshi for NDTV.
Time for a short break now. More news continues on the other side. Stay tuned.
The NDTV News Network
that informs,
inspires
and illuminates. Watch every side of the story here on NDTV,
because the only side we're on is yours.
In a world filled with noise, we bring you news that you can rely on with accuracy and integrity, because at NDTV, trust is everything.
23 years of the big fight. This show is not just an ordinary debate show, but it is a responsibility in service of our viewers.
Facts are the foundation of a news story, but it's the views that shape these stories. Because when you hear views from all sides, you get the complete picture.
A debate has many facets, perhaps no one right answer. Left, right and center. Conversations that get to the core of the debate.
NDTV for news you can trust. No sensationalism, no ugly debates, no agenda. We strive to be transparent and unbiased in our reporting so you can get news that you can rely on.
It's undeniable. We're facing the crisis of the generation, climate change. And it's happening. Not in some far-off distant land or some millions of years away. It's happening now. And it affects everything we know and love. Information around climate change can often feel too distant, too jargony, too scary, too anxiety-filled, too technical, or too political. I'm here to change that. The Climate Explainers, part of NDTV's 6-month-long campaign, building a blueprint for climate action. The climate clock is ticking, but we're just in time. The NDTV News Network
that informs
inspires
and illuminates. Watch every side of the story here on NDTV.
because the only side we're on is yours.
In a world filled with noise, we bring you news that you can rely on with accuracy and integrity. Because at NDTV, trust is everything.
23 years of the big fight. This show is not just an ordinary debate show, but it is a responsibility in service of our viewers.
Facts are the foundation of a news story, but it's the views that shape these stories. Because when you hear views from all sides, you get the complete picture.
A debate has many facets, perhaps no one.
Welcome back. We're tracking the Prime Minister's visit to the United States, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has now reached the hotel that he's going to stay in over the next couple of days in Washington, D.C. in the United States. He's in Washington, D.C. as a part of his 4-day state visit to the United States. And over the next couple of days, he has important events lined up, including a state dinner that will be hosted by the U.S. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden. That will be followed by a bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Joe Biden that could involve strategic discussions that concern both India and the United States on defense technology and on semiconductors as well. Along with that, the Prime Minister will also address the US Congress. It will be a joint sitting of the US Congress that the Prime Minister will address, and this will be his second address to the US Congress. Those important events lined up ahead for the Prime Minister in Washington, and there you can see visuals of him reaching his hotel where he is going to be spending the next 2 days.